The layout is progressing nicely, and I also added this line right here. It's just 1/16 of an inch in. To shorten this up a little bit. Now I've changed my mind here. This was 9/16 bore, and I'm going to change it to 1/2. It'll run just as well, and it'll give me a little more space for my hole, so I don't have to worry about that. And again, this is a 1/4 inch bore here. So I'm laying out those holes right now, 1 inch thick. Half of that is, of course, 1/2. So there's my center line. Now, I'm going to do this drilling and reaming and so on the milling machine. This layout, in fact, could be done with a digital readout, but I'm doing it maybe both ways. And then this bore is 1/2 of an inch in from this edge. And that's what I'm laying out right now. And now I've got to determine where this hole is. The valve hole is 1 5/8 from this edge. That's where I'll do my layout from this. I am getting mighty anxious to remove some metal, but rather than saw or mill this out right now, I'm going to step to the milling machine and I'm going to drill and ream these 2 holes. And the reason for that is if I cut it out first and then put this into the milling machine vise and perform those hole operations, I'm going to lack rigidity and stability here. It's going to bend in here. So I'll drill those and ream them first, but they'll be blind holes, but I'll go down plenty deep so I'm not tormented by a blind hole. So when I drill and ream this hole, I'm going to go in fully, perhaps that far. Similarly, right here, I'll go in perhaps that far. Remember that if you're using a reamer, that the reamers have a bit of a taper near the end anyway, so I want to overcome that. Blow your holes out so you don't jam the chips down in there. Let's go to the Bridgeport and set it up. Just a little footnote here before I get over to the Bridgeport mill. You know, the British were wonderful model makers, and still are. And they were doing some of this model making, you know, 150 years ago. We were still forging the frontier here in America, so they really are the leaders in that. And this is one that I built so many years ago when I was in high school. I think I was 16, but actually it's based on the Stuart castings. But I built it from the castings and the drawings. But the engines that I'm building now are so simple and probably don't have the eye appeal that some of these engines do that the British men were making. But when I recently visited the Henry Ford Museum, and if you want to look at that, because not too many people are looking at that, but it's called Road Trip, Winter Road Trip, TUBALCAIN to Detroit. And I show many of the models that they have there in the museum. And oh, they're just wonderful and intricate and beautiful. And some made over 100 years ago. But, point of order here. You see this blue tag on here? When I was in high school, there was an Industrial Arts Award, they called it, and it was held at the Henry Ford Museum. I did not go. My dad got this packed up for me and sent it to the exhibition up there, and I won honorable mention, which was $50, which is like $500 now, so I was thrilled with that $50. And if you look at this video, I do have the video on this. I didn't make this little flyball governor for 30 or 35 years after I made this model, but I had the castings all that time. That's why it's not painted. But at that same exhibition, and that would have been 1960, my brother also submitted a gun. He made a Colt Navy gun in school, believe it or not, but of course my dad was the teacher. It was beautifully made, as I remember, but there are no pictures of it. But you'll never guess what happened. It was stolen from the exhibit. Now, they did have security guards there, so we, to this day, have no idea what happened to it other than it was stolen. But my brother, who lives in Cody, Wyoming, was paid for that. There was insurance, so he got, I don't know, a couple $100 or something, but he still was absolutely heartbroken over that. And I wish we had pictures of it. So that's a long time ago. All right, now I'm truly going to the Bridgeport mill. The work is set up perfectly perpendicular here on the Bridgeport vise. Sometimes I make a little blueprint, but I actually did this for your benefit, but that's a view from the top showing that the half-inch hole here is a half-inch in from the edge, both directions. The valve hole, which is a 1/4-inch hole, is 1 5/8 over, and they're both drilled on that center line. So often I write things down on the milling machine or on a little piece of paper, and I notice that other guys do that too. That's not something that's all that unique. My dad used to write on the wood when he was building something out of wood with a pencil. What I'm going to do first here, using the edge finder, and you've seen me do this all the, many times, but this is my edge finder with the 200 thousandths diameter on the end here, so half of that is 100 thousandths. To me, that's pretty handy. But I'm going to locate this corner, so I have to do that first here. And I'll come over on this side, and then I have located the corner, and I will zero that out on my digital readout, which is already turned on. Now, if you don't have a digital readout, you can certainly do this with your dials or any other method you desire. Now, remember I laid that out up here. There's really no need to do this with the digital readout, but I'm going to do it anyway. But it would be good enough from layouts. Also, I like to take the time to get the tooling that I need. Get it laid out, double check it with a micrometer or a drill gauge so you don't have a heartbreak later on. So I will use a starter bit, and then this is 1 size under 1/4, and here's the 1/4-inch reamer, 1 size under 1/2, and the 1/2-inch reamer. These reamers are so long that you really have to drop the Bridgeport table down a long ways. That's kind of annoying, but it is necessary. I'm sure that most of you have seen me use an edge finder, but I'm going to turn the machine on, and this is going to wobble. And I'll bring it up against the work, and when it suddenly slides over, then I'm on the edge of the work. Oh, not really. I'm 100 thousandths from the edge because the diameter here is 200 thousandths on this edge finder. So watch this. Now watch it move over. See it move over? Now I'll raise it up. And on the digital readout, and this will be in the x-axis. Got a bit of a glare there. But I'll zero it out. Move 100 thousandths. Now I'm going to zero it out again because now I'm truly on the edge. Let's do it in the other axis now. Now in the y-axis. Watch it slip over now. See that? Now similarly, in the y-axis now, I'll zero that out, move it 100 thousandths. Doesn't matter if you go past, we don't care two hoots about backlash when we're doing this. Zero it out. Now of course I moved the x-axis so that the edge finder would be in the right position, but so I'm going to bring it back now. Whoop, a little bit too far. There, and I'm still a 1/2 thousandth off there. That's only a 1/2 thousandth. I'll adjust that. But essentially here, I am right on the corner. And then I'll do all of my movements from that, and I'll keep that in memory until this is all done. Do not shut the power off on the digital readout, or you lose that, or at least you do on mine. I think some newer ones have memories. Mine's pretty old. Can you see now that the center of my drill is right on the corner, because I found two edges. So I'm going to move over 500 thousandths, and I'm looking at the digital readout. I'm not going to show you that. I'm at 500 thousandths in the Y, and I'm going to move over also 500 thousandths in the X. Right there. Lock the table in both directions. That's just a starter bit. And then I'm going to unlock the table and move. Well, it's going to read 1.625. That's 1 5/8. Right there. Lock the table. Now those two holes are established, I can move back and forth between the two of them without losing my place, just using the digital readout. And I guess while I'm at it here, I will put this drill into the chuck, drill it down to the correct depth, and then ream it. Then I'll go back and do the big hole. Alright, I'll drill this hole. Now as far as the depth is concerned, I just marked the drill bit with a black marker. Can you see that? You certainly can use your depth stop or do it any way you want. To me this is simple enough because the depth isn't that critical because I'm over drilling it. And I'm just using chips. All right, let's ream. And that hole is reamed 1/4. Remember that a reamer accurately sizes a hole, makes it truly round. A drill bit does not do that. So this is a true 1/4 inch hole now. 0.250. Over to the big one. I'm back to the other hole using the digital readout, so I know I'm exactly where I want to be. And I need to drill to the depth there of where you see the black line here. So I've marked the drill bit and I'm clear up here almost on the straight shank. I've got it marked. You may not see it. But remember, as you get up near the top, the chips have to have a way to get out of the hole. So keep clearing them. And if you go in so deep that you're into the unfluted portion of a drill, back it out repeatedly. Get those chips out of there or it will jam and break. I guarantee it. So on. When reaming, the rule of thumb is to drill the hole one size under the ream size. Now this is 1/2, so the drill bit is 31/64. Now I have not marked the drill. I will just drill down until I feel the bottom of the hole. I'll definitely feel it when it hits. again, that's not critical at all. I might have to slow the machine down. I'm going to slow it down one speed and finish drilling off camera. Those long chips are quite annoying and somewhat dangerous. You can see how far I had to drop the table, and that's always annoying with these long shank reamers. But there is a little bit of a wobble in this reamer, even though it's virtually brand new. That could be the chuck, but the length here helps to compensate for that, so you don't get a bell-mouthed hole. And I guess I didn't mention it, but you need to run reamers at a slower speed, so I'm down to 600 RPM, and it probably would be even better if I had it in back gears, but I'm going to make this do. I blew out the hole, so there's no chips in the bottom of it, and ready to ream. See a little bit of a wobble? I like to get those chips out of there. And I can feel it hit the bottom. So that hole is done. Matter of fact, both holes are done. Before taking it out of the machine, and never take it out until you're sure you're done with all of the operations, because you're never going to get back in the machine the same. But I believe that I am going to, while I'm at it, lay out and drill these 4 head bolt holes, because I know where the center of the big hole is, so I'll work from that. So I won't do any layout, but I got to go over to the bench and figure out some dimensions. Alright, I'm back. I did a little bit of calculating, and one change I'm going to make here. This was the orientation of the holes on the finished model, but I'm going to reorient it so that the holes will be like that. It's just simpler to do here. And I have determined that the whole circle will be 700 thousandths, and I'm going to work from the center and come out and drill each hole, so I will be coming out from the center 350 thousandths. Do you follow that? Is that clear as mud? I had an electronics professor in college, Doc Johnston, John L. Johnson. What a guy. He was a Navy man, but he would give us some complicated presentation like hysteresis loss and eddy currents, and he had formulas for that. And it was impossible to understand, even though he was brilliant. I wasn't. And when he finished, he would say, "Is that clear as mud?" So that's where I got that expression. Well, notice I'm at 500 and 500 here now. That was to drill that hole. And by the way, I'm not very satisfied with the surface finish in that hole, considering that was a pretty good looking reamer. So I'll have to polish that, or actually I should probably take the time right now to bore it out with a boring bar and get a little better finish, but I'm not in the mood. But what I'm going to do here is zero these out, both axes, and then I'm going to move 350 thousandths. Like so. Get out of there, you half. Okay. Now I'm in the position to drill this hole, and I got just a little center drill in there. So I will drill that, swap bits, drill at the tap drill size. Then I'll move over 350 on the other side and do the same. Come back to the center and go 350 in the Y in both directions. I will do the tapping in the bench, at the bench, not in the machine here, because there's no need. Alright, ready to go. Each hole will be started with a center drill, and this is a number 43 drill bit, which is the tap drill size, and a 440 tap. And I have switched to my Albrecht chuck from Germany, which I love. Keyless chuck, you know. But you'd have to take a second mortgage on your house to buy one. By the way, don't ever remortgage your house. These ads, you know, where they're trying to tell you to get the equity out of your house, it's the most insane thing that I've ever heard of. You paid the house off. Don't take the equity out, or that's just absolutely insane to do. And it should be prohibited. We got laws for everything else. Why don't they have a law against that? Sorry about that. Now these will be drilled, I'm going to go about 3/4 deep. I'd rather have them extra deep so I don't have to deal with bottoming taps. I'm going to speed the machine up and drill that to depth and then move to the next one. Sorry for that little rant, but it was so true. And now back to 0 and then 350. Right there. And I'm ready to drill this hole. And so on. All 4 holes are drilled. I'm not satisfied with that bore finish at all, but rather than bore it with a boring bar, I'm just going to take it when I'm ready, near the end of the project, with a little hone or something and smooth that up. Now it would run just fine the way it is. I'm just not real proud of that finish, considering it was virtually a brand new reamer. Alright, I'm going to take it out now because I'm pretty darn sure that I've done everything that I want to do while it's in this setup. But if in doubt, leave it in there until you've thought about it for a while, or you get up in the morning because I'm just about ready to quit for the day here. Well, maybe I'll tap those holes yet. Back at the bench. Okay, now I'm going to tap them. Now if you do not have a 440, 540 is alright also. You might even get away with 6, but then you're getting pretty close to the edge, you know, if you do make a mistake. Now an alternate way of doing that, if you don't want to do it on the milling machine, is to make this part first and then transfer them. But if you do that, you need to have a little step in here that will center it. And I have done it both ways. But what I will do when I make the head, I will use transfer screws to transfer those holes onto the back of this, and then I'll drill them out. So there's different ways of doing that. So whatever's your pleasure.